Transformation is what turns the larva into a butterfly, and what will take our country up where the eagles fly. Transformation will give us a better nation. Change is an amorphous term, and it could be positive or negative. APC has made change a mantra, but they have not shown whether they want change for the good or they want change for the worse. But one thing is certain: any change that is not planned would lead to disaster. We cannot risk our future on a toss of the dice by the APC. Of course, you know what APC is. Conglomerate of bitter and aggrieved people who left different political parties to join an individual. We suspect that they want to change Nigeria from being a country to being a part of somebody's private estate. That is the change they are talking about. To change Nigeria from being a country to being a part of somebody's private estate. That's the change. A recent poverty index conducted in Nigeria, listen to this, shows that Zamfara and Yobe states are about the poorest states in our dear country, unfortunately. And these are states that have never had the luck of being run by PDP since 1999. The other state in that same bracket is Borno State. Suffice it to state that there is a correlation between poverty and insurgency in that part of the country. Therefore, APC's agents who misrule those states must have, to a large extent, contributed to the insurgency that President Jonathan is now violently confronting. In other words, the misrule of the economies of those states must have been a contributory factor to the insurgency we are witnessing now. If the APC elements governing these states provided education and built armed majority schools like the president is doing now, the security challenges in that part of the country would not have arisen. President Jonathan has done well in national development. He has developed key infrastructure and developed human capacity building a lot. National development is one of the expectations of democratic governance. The trains in Nigeria are now functioning. And they are not just functioning, they are functioning with air-conditioned coaches. His agricultural programs are revolutionary. The Minister of Agriculture can confirm. Outside the normal schools, out of schools, children's schools that are being built, the ones I mentioned, 14 brand new universities have been established, and I can go on and on and on. The confused opposition is now focusing on Boko Haram insurgency. They forget that they were the people who criticized the president and urged him to stop sending troops after Boko Haram. They were the people who described Boko Haram as our boys fighting for the north. They were the people Boko Haram nominated as their agents and spokesmen when a dialogue with Boko Haram was contemplated outside Saudi Arabia. I hope you know that. Boko Haram nominated them as their spokesmen. We may recall that on June 9, 2014, the spokesperson of the APC, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, in a statement, criticized the federal government of Nigeria, criticized the war against Boko Haram, describing it as unconstitutional. War against Boko Haram was described by Lai Mohammed as unconstitutional. Similarly, on June 2nd, 2018, General Buhari publicly lamented in a radio program on Liberty FM Kaduna that Boko Haram people were being killed by the federal government. He lamented. The Boko Haram people were being killed. Liberty FM, I'm mentioning the date. Go and listen to the program. In the same vein, when the federal government was contemplating negotiating with the dreaded Boko Haram group, Boko Haram nominated General Buhari as their chief negotiator. The APC is like the man who set his seat ablaze in the theater and ran out screaming, fire, fire, fire. But God has intervened, and we are defeating Boko Haram in the name of God. Despite the antics of the opposition and others sympathetic to Boko Haram, the President and Commander-in-Chief, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, indeed the military, have been able to rise to the occasion by decimating the insurgents and restoring hope of a peaceful Northeast in particular and Nigeria in general. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with us that our dear President, the military, and the joint West African forces deserve our commendation for the strings of successes being recorded in the battle to rout Boko Haram. But sadly, the APC has found it increasingly difficult to commend the effort of the President, while it has reluctantly applauded our gallant soldiers, even when the National Assembly passed a resolution commending Mr. President. For them, they would rather pretend that nothing good is happening in the fight against insurgency. It is abundantly clear that the opposition is soft on the issue of Boko Haram, even though they have paradoxically made elimination of Boko Haram their campaign mantra. They are soft on that issue. At this juncture, therefore, we are calling on the United States of America and other Western powers to be more involved in the fight against Boko Haram, now that its affiliation to ISIS and other global terror groups have been clearly established. The continued quest of the PDP-led federal government for free, fair, and credible elections has not been in doubt, as witnessed in its robust support through adequate and sustained funding, and indeed the free hand given to INEC to operate. But surprisingly, in our opinion, INEC appears ill-prepared for the 2015 elections. For example, at the time the polls were shifted due to security concerns, over 23 million registered voters were yet to collect their PVCs. And if you know, there are countries with just 3 million population. 23 million will amount to disenfranchising more than 5 West African countries in their own election. It will be recalled also that even the INEC chairman himself admitted on the floor of the Senate that over 1 million permanent voters' cards are yet to be printed in faraway China. According to the INEC chairman, the postponement was a blessing in disguise. But I know before then the media went to town. Of course, you know what you did. How then can Nigerians reconcile the purported readiness of INEC for the 14th February election then with the testing of card readers more than a month after the postponement? After more than 3 weeks after the election was shifted, we are now testing the card readers we would have used 3 weeks ago. Given the failure rate of the card readers during the recent mock exercise, it is apparent that many Nigerians will be disenfranchised, even when they have registered to vote. We reassert that on no account should any registered voter be disenfranchised, for non-possession